Good afternoon, Tony Dattino, a founder of the USA Memory Championship, and with my Live with Tony today, it was an extraordinary morning we had with the mystery guest that we do at the Memory Institute. And what the mystery guest is someone that comes in and basically, let me just first, Memory Institute. The Memory Institute is a workshop that is being done here at the Dr. Phillips YMCA for people that are looking to continue to improve their mental health, their brain functions, their cognitive disciplines. And so it's a mixture of activities that are done over a 14-week period of time, 4 hours on Monday, 4 hours on Wednesday, and the agenda changes from week to week depending upon where we are on the 14-week cycle. Every 3 weeks, we bring in someone that we define as a mystery guest. It's someone that I find that might have some interesting stories and life experiences for the people that are participants in the Institute. And I try to find people that have a life story with a lesson to be taught or something of an experience that connects with their memories and or brings back a dialogue and conversation that they feel comfortable with, that they can engage our mystery guest with. And what I'm trying to get the attendees to do is learn how to communicate with people, how to ask questions, or how to open up a dialogue on a social interaction level. And what the science is telling us is when people feel lonely or isolated, they have shorter life expectancy. So what I'm trying to teach them are social interaction skills so that they can ask people that they meet at the grocery store or at the pharmacy or at the doctor's office, wherever they're engaged in being outside into the public domain, how do you engage people in friendly, safe conversations and feel good about it? And when you go home, you have a memory of something that you retain and you recall, and you just enjoy it. So today's mystery guest, God, was a memorable event. We started off by introducing the mystery guest sits down, and they some very interesting questions from today's group. Example, did you ever lead groups of people? Now, that's an interesting question. We haven't had that one before. Of course, what is your name? And have you ever written anything? So it was about, did you ever write something? So what did you obviously do for your career and your life? And so we got off and going with what his name was, and his name was Alan Homick, who was a executive at Con Edison during 2001. And Al was the safety executive responsible for the safety and well-being of the Con Edison employees that had to respond to the World Trade Tower disaster that we had on 9/11. And he started off by talking about where he was sitting in an office at Con Edison, which is on 14th Street, which is about 2 miles away from the World Trade Towers. And he started talking about how they saw this, what they thought was a plane, a little plane, maybe a low-flying miniature Cessna-type plane, and then realized the magnitude size of it. And so they continued on with their conversation, but then when they saw the second one go, and it had this big ball of fire that came out of it, they said, whoa, something's going on. And so he started with that as his introduction, but then more importantly, his experience with having to respond as the safety executive to making sure all of the employees had respiratory equipment because of the particles, and he was responsible for doing air samples. And so it was a great positive story in the sense that he shared with everybody how he never saw thousands of people come together in such a common goal in a common way, and the memories that stuck into his mind from the mobilization of people from all walks of life, and with respirators for the people responding, and how people cheered that were there and clapped for the Con Edison workers because they needed to get the power back on. and they needed to get the lights and the power for Wall Street, which was all shut down from the explosions, as he described, as the buildings collapsed. It just totally disabled the whole electrical system for downtown New York City. And the New York Stock Exchange was impacted, obviously, and the chairman of the company basically mobilized his team and just said, we got to get the lights back. And so we got into a conversation of using mind maps. And so it's a tool that I had shared with people at Con Ed. So they used mind mapping as a tool to help with the person, what were all of the issues that they had to focus on, and then how are they going to come up with decisions and a game plan and a strategy to get the lights back on, respecting the fact that their whole electrical system was demolished in the explosion. And they were able to get it back up in 7 days. They got the lights back up for Wall Street within 7 days, which is a story never told. It's almost like, God, this is like a hero story that just was never told and should be told. And so sometimes we look for these incredible stories of human superpower, and boy, this was clearly one of humans coming together in very, very challenging times that obviously was impactful. And it brought back a memory that I had to where I was doing a workshop for the New York City Transit Authority underground, several blocks from the World Trade Center. And when we were finished with it was a third shift workshop, and it was a 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. workshop. And at 7:30, we came up from the underground of the subway system, and they have a conference room there, which is where I did the class, and I came up underground, and there we were looking at the towers, and some people decided, well, let's go have breakfast. I mean, we worked all night, and the workshop, a class, and then let's go to the towers. And I was tired, and I thought about it, and I said, I'm tired, I just want to go home and go to sleep. And my daughter called me shortly after watching television and said, Dad, I'm so glad where are you? And I told her I left and came home. She knew I was in the underground there near the World Trade Center, and was happy that I answered the phone and told me to put it on television, and so goes the rest of the story. But here's what I wanted the messaging I wanted to share about today's session was the memories that people had that were in the class. It was interesting to have Al share his stories, but each person in the class had a connection that they remembered like it was yesterday. And so when we talk about memories and how life experiences sometimes that have an emotional charge, that have some emotional connection, just brought everybody back over 20 years. If you step back, this is 2024, talking about 9/11, 2001. Every person in the room had a connection. And so at lunchtime, I said, okay, what we'll do is Al will stick around a little bit for lunch. And I brought him to every person, and there were 16 attendees, and I brought him around to each person and introduced him to every one of the people that were in the Memory Institute class. And each person had a personal connection of where they were or what they remembered, and it was like yesterday. And this is 23 years ago, which tells us something about our memories. If we have something that is emotionally connecting to us, and this obviously was emotionally connecting to everybody that part of it, saw it, watched it, heard about it, and knew where they were. They knew exactly where they were and what they did when they heard about it, like it was yesterday, 23 years ago. And it was just amazing to me to have each person that he met talk about where they were and how they connected, and I was able to relate to it. It was like, wow. And here we went around the lunch table and connected with each person as they were having lunch, and they thanked him the thanks that they had for him and what he did and what he had to go through, and the connection that they all made was just awesome. And they congratulated him because what they basically said is these are the types of stories that most people don't know about and most people never heard or didn't get shared. was the men and women that had to go through rebuilding the World Trade Center and the towers, and the hurt and the pain that they went through, and the particles that they had to breathe, and the life expectancy that was shortened because of it. And the people, of course, obviously, that were killed in the towers. And so this was our morning today, and people in the workshop at lunch told me this was by far the best mystery guest that we've had. I don't know how we beat this one, but they connected so emotionally to this, and their memories were like, bam, bam. It's like 23 years of holding it in here, and you say the storage that we have and what we hold on to, that this brought to light and brought to the surface, was absolutely unbelievable, which then just shares with us the lesson about our memories and how we can retain things in our mind that just a half-hour presentation brought back to 23 years ago of where I was, what I was doing, when I heard about it, how I responded to it, who I may have known connected to it, like it was yesterday. And so goes the superpowers that we have in our own memories if we just learn how to access that and remember the things that are important to us. And Al couldn't have done a better job. He's just awesome. He's a down-to-earth person, and he's not one that's in there and get a pat on the back, and yet these people in the workshop just couldn't thank him enough, and walked around and shook his hand and really appreciated him for coming and being our mystery guest today. Now my challenge is, what do I do for the next mystery guest? My goodness. In any case, have a good week. We go through, it's April 1st. This is not an April Fool's joke. This was a serious session we had today at the Memory Institute here at Dr. Phillips YMCA. Have a good week, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday when it will be April the 3rd.